Hi everyone, I'm Leyla Salvade. I'm the founder of Standing Light. Welcome to the LightStyle interview series. Today I am so excited to be here with Chris Salata, who is the founder of Peace Accelerators, but he likes to call himself the launcher as he's launching all these incredible movements into the stratosphere. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
And Chris you're one of my dearest friends here, and you've shown me so much incredible ways to just launch something so powerfully into existence and create such an acceleration around it. And you were just recently on CNN.
Yeah.
So tell us about that first and foremost, because I'm very curious about all of that and how you're shining a light into this world through what you're doing.
Yeah, that was unexpected. I do a monthly event called a Feed Walk every month, and we were having our 5th one, and each one has grown, and we've had more and more people at each one. But they just showed up. Someone from CNN was at our last event, and she brought her camera, and then she just ended up filming the whole thing.
Oh wow!
And she was just like, I just love this event. It's really cool. And then she stayed in touch, and then she emailed us, and then she said, hey, can we do an interview? And then it was supposed to kind of be 3 individual interviews, but then I called just quite a few of our group and just said, I just felt uncomfortable because I don't feel like, I always like trying to give as much credit to everyone that contributes as possible. Yeah. And I felt like, I kind of initiated maybe something, but so many people have helped create it to what it is. So it turned into being like 8 people sitting on a couch and all of us just kind of like chatting about like kind of what we've been building. And yeah, it was really fun. And so she's editing that footage, and then they want to do some more footage, and to be determined on what's going to come from it. But they're very excited.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us about Peace Accelerator.
Yeah, Peace Accelerators is I like using the words organization and community more than nonprofit, which I guess in like a legal business sense, it's a nonprofit. I also like using maybe the word movement. But I guess when you use the word movement, we're more talking about turning people's mind onto something, or changing their mind, or having them believe in something that maybe they didn't before. And so I guess the concept is helping people start to believe in peace again. And I think that happened a lot in the counterculture movement of like the 60s and 70s. People really started to dive into peace philosophy as a culture of American culture. And I think that we've lost a lot of that. And I think with kind of the political reality that we're living in right now, mixed with how involved we are in so many foreign affairs, I started studying a lot of data and a lot of stats on the U.S. Role, and I got really interested in peace. And I also was studying Steven Pinker, who's a Harvard evolutionary psychologist. And Steven's theory that he backs up with tons of data is that we're growing less violent as a species, like overall globally, and that we're killing each other less by ratio every generation. And that triggered a thought in me that, is it possible that maybe we can speed that process up? I like putting data into things, and I never thought about global data in coordination with peace. And I think that, I guess the long-term goal of Peace Accelerators is partly to help people believe in peace, but also to accelerate it, obviously, to help lower violence as quickly as possible. But in a short lens, or in a smaller lens, I think it's really to create hope. I think I get so many people that come to me and they're like, I just love what you're doing so much. And I think it just helps people believe in a positive future. And I think that there's so much information that's constantly fed to us that kind of has us believe in a really bleak future. And I think that's possible to go that route, but I think that we get to choose. And I guess what I'm trying to help people do is, like, at this point now in the present, let's choose to create a beautiful future. And what does that look like? And let's all have that discussion. And as we have that discussion, we have a higher chance of actually creating that future in general. So I like bringing a lot of technology and tech people into our events, and then also kind of people from all the realms, the spiritual realms. And I guess that's what I like about Peace is I'm realizing, I went to this Peace Forum at Columbia just a few days ago, and someone was speaking how peace building is actually community building. And so the longer I do this and the more I do it, and I study a lot of peace philosophers, like I like Johann Galtung and I like Gandhi, obviously, and I like Martin Luther King. But I'm realizing that if you want to increase peace, you actually increase community. You help people feel more intertwined and more supported, and that's kind of what it's become. So, yeah.
Well, we co-create our reality, right? And so I feel like that's what you're giving when you say hope. That's what's happening at these feed walks, which is one of the events that you guys host with Peace Accelerators.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed it myself, you know, all of us coming together, creating, and I'll let you share a little bit more about it, but just creating meals for the homeless. But it's not just that, it's so much more, because it's all of us coming together and experiencing people bringing their own unique gifts to this event, and through that inspiring a beautiful world, really, because in that small space, and now even bigger spaces where they're held, it's like a little universe in itself where all of us are just creating together.
Yes.
So tell us about Feed Walks. That's one of the events that you host.
Yeah, so Feed Walks kind of came organically. It wasn't something I planned on, and that's what's been fun about Peace Accelerators as well, is letting it grow organically and not holding it too tight and seeing kind of what happens. But the concept was, I got a bunch of friends together as we were creating this in November around Thanksgiving, and I said, why don't we just prepare a bunch of meals and we'll walk around and kind of feed some people that aren't going to get fed and may not have a place to go. And we had about 9 people come together, and we just made 75 meals, and we walked around and just gave them to different people throughout New York City that were needing them. And there's a really cool energy that we had there. But then Christmas time came the next month, and we decided to do it again. And we got in contact with some of our friends at an app called Deed. We ended up having about 25 people, and I invited a DJ to come play, and we just had this great energy. I mean, everyone just really enjoyed the event. And so then we decided to do it again, and we had 65 people or so, and we had 3 TED Talk speakers randomly come, and then we had another DJ and a musician, and it was just a really fun event, and everyone was like, this was such a great way to spend my Sunday. And so then we just decided to keep doing them, and now they've grown into having many speakers. We're having VR come to them, we're having different artists paint while we're doing them. But the goal now, and what we see as the long-term vision, and I guess why I say that is, I think the way to really help inspire and create movements or energy is to give people the long-term vision, but show them that you're really working in the short term as well. And like, there's a quote that says something to that if you want people to build a ship, don't have them gather wood, but show them the other side of the ocean, or get them excited about that. And so to me, I think where we're trying to take Feed Walks is into a day of community in New York City that we rent out or use a giant community space. And it's a day of volunteering for everybody. So if you're a musician, you can volunteer and be a musician. If you're an artist, you can paint or bring your art. But really, we have a room for showers. We have a room for haircuts for people that need them. We have clothing companies donating extra clothes. We have a place for mental health services, and then we have a party area, and then we have a place where people are preparing food. And it's just a day of give back that the whole community can come be a part of, and you can meet really, really amazing people, and it's a networking place, but really just a place to experience what we all love is our giving side and our sharing side, and that's what Peace is all about, is giving back and sharing and realizing that we don't constantly have to compete. And I think that we spend so much of our time, in businesses and competing and thinking, how can we beat this company or this company, when we forget that in the grander sense, we're all here to help each other.
Right.
And so that's the vision with that event, and it's been really fun so far.
Yeah,
so,
it has. Yeah. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
And explain what led you here, because I know you just started this, and before this you were doing something very different. Yeah. Tell us about that. What's been your journey?
Yeah, I didn't expect to do this. That's I guess what's kind of interesting. Well, I thought last year around May I was kind of considering doing a Peace T-shirt company, and
T-shirt.
Yeah,
okay.
Like environmentally sustainably.
Okay, and you were in Malibu,
t-shirts.
weren't you?
I was living in Malibu, and I was working in solar energy. I'd been working in solar energy for a while, And then I had done some solar work in Kenya, and I was kind of working in an office kind of space doing some large commercial solar work. So I was putting solar energy on like Costco's and Ikea's and helping a large company with that. And I just kind of needed some more adventure to my life. After Burning Man, which I usually go every year, I quit that job and then decided I was going to do this job in Uganda that a lot of friends do, where I was going to help spread solar energy through Uganda and teach kind of villagers, teach them how to spread solar energy through their communities, which really helps them in many ways. But I decided to take a trip to New York for like a week before leaving for Uganda, and I hadn't fully accepted this job offer, but it was on the table. And while I was in New York, one thing led to another thing, led to another thing. But really the short version is I went to a Daybreaker, and I think you're actually interviewing them, which is funny.
Yeah, Rada's a part of the series too.
Yeah, and I went to a Daybreaker on, I was wearing a white spacesuit. This is my spacesuit, by the way, which I like bringing futurism into Peace as well. I think it's kind of important. But anyway.
The visual aspect is very important.
Yeah, the fashion aspect and
fun.
Creating
It's playful.
counterculture. Yeah, absolutely. But I went to a Daybreaker after I'd been here for about 2 days, and it turned out, I knew, I'd been waiting on it for weeks, but it was the International Day of Peace. And so I announced at Daybreaker, we were on this rooftop in this amazing party, and everyone was feeling very connected, but I just said, by the way, just so you guys know, it's the International Day of Peace. And then they announced it by microphone, and they told everyone. And I think when it was announced, for me at least, it created this very cool energy when you're all celebrating it's the International Day of Peace. And so I left there and then was just kind of still in my spacesuit, walking around New York City on a random like Wednesday morning or something. And I was just kind of like buying food for people and just like having fun. And I then was like, I'm having so much fun because it's the International Day of Peace, and it was a cool feeling. I was telling everyone that was around me, because they were like seeing me in a spacesuit, they're going to work. And I was like, well, it's the International Day of Peace. And they're like, oh, interesting. But so I Googled on my phone and I was looking for other events. And then I got a little bit disappointed, I guess would be the best word. There was nothing else. In all of New York City, other than a very tiny private event at the UN. And so it's kind of how this all started. From there, I started thinking about why are we not celebrating the International Day of Peace more? What could happen if we did celebrate it more? How many good ideas could be generated from that? And also how, to me, if you want to fight war, like the idea of war, I think it's by building community and celebration. I think they're the opposite of war, and I think it's kind of the antidote to war. So I decided to do my own event, and so I got a friend, Alex Colby, who's an amazing videographer, and we made this come to Washington Square Park and celebrate peace the weekend before the election. And I also wanted to do it because 2016 was such a divisive year in our country, and people were constantly fighting and arguing on Facebook and social media, and there's these long threads, and everyone had an opinion, and it just was so frustrating for me because I think that, to me, even though there's so many problems, and I'm never trying to disregard like that there's not a zillion complexities that we're living in, but there's also so many beautiful things happening. We're landing rockets right now, like on Earth, and we've never done that before. And we have virtual reality and artificial intelligence, and we can look up every single answer to everything in the world on a device, on our phone. And I think we just forget how far we've come, and like how much the literacy rates have gone up in the last 100 years, and how much our life expectancy has gone up, and all the beautiful things that our species has done, and all the good things. And I just wanted us to remind ourselves and thank ourselves and be proud of ourselves for those things. And I think it then accelerates some of the progress. And so anyway, so I threw a big event. It was called We Are One Species, and it was in Washington Square Park, and we had about 200 people come through. We had performers and speakers and entrepreneurs and TED speakers, and it was just a really cool experience day. And we ended up, Colin Huggins, who's like an amazing piano player in Washington Square Park, he closed it out on piano.
Oh, I've seen him. Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he plays every like Saturday or Sunday.
Right, exactly.
Just gorgeous experience right underneath the arch, and it took place under the arch. And all these people that came by, we actually had printed out all these tiny cards that had the lyrics to "Imagine" by John Lennon, which I think is a very powerful song. I think imagining beautiful futures is a very important process, actually. And so we had about 150 people kind of sing Imagine on this day before the election, and then Colin let me actually stand randomly on his piano and then kind of give a speech about peace. And it's one of my kind of favorite memories in my life. And but my goal, actually, I realized before that, was to make it kind of a beta test. And I think that we have these startup mentalities, but I don't think we apply them enough to things that maybe matter in like situations like peace. And so to me, it was a beta test. And actually, this year we're doing it again, but we're doing it in Central Park. And this year our goal is over 1,000 people on the International Day of Peace, on the actual day. And I think we're going to have way more. We've been meeting with lots of rather relevant people, or everyone's relevant, but I guess some big names. And the goal is to grow it. And this is, I think, one of the most exciting things about Peace Accelerators is the goal is to grow this celebration on the International Day of Peace by 10x for the next 4 years. And so I call it the Clear Vision by 2020 plan. But this year, our goal is to have 1,000 people in Central Park celebrating peace. But then
And that's what day again?
That's on September 21st.
Okay.
And then
Remember.
Yeah. And then on 2018, that would be 10,000 people, which we think is very possible. A more difficult jump, but we think we can. We have 2 years to get there. Is 100,000 people by 2019, and we think we're going to do that.
Awesome.
And then I think we do that. I really just think the energy is going to be so huge that we're going to have 1 million people celebrate peace on the International Day of Peace in New York City in 2020. And I think by doing that, we help people believe in a movement that's very, very exciting. And I think one of the ways, the last thing I think it's important to touch on and how we want to celebrate that, and I think what's important about peace is we can kind of curate how we celebrate the holiday as of right now, because we're kind of we're helping, ignite this celebration. To me, I want it to be a day where we think about people we have the most disagreement with, or hatred, or maybe a grudge or pain. I think there's lots of people that don't talk to sometimes their own kids or children, or their brothers or their sisters, and they haven't talked to them in 20 years. And I think it's really sad because all of us know deep down, like, why are we doing this? We only get one life.
Right.
And I want it to be a day that's set aside to kind of mend so much of that, and it's the International Day of Peace. And the concept is, like, on Christmas, we give presents to our friends, but the International Day of Peace may be a day you give a present to kind of end a grudge towards someone that you've had some problems with in some way, and just say, look, we're too big for this, we're too smart for this, and I'm sorry. And it's just a day to say I'm sorry to people and say that I care about you regardless. And so I think it can be a really, really beautiful day.
With that comes to mind the beautiful saying where I think it's ho'oponopono, it's a reversion of it, where it's I love you, thank you, I forgive you. And there's so many different versions that people have taken on, and you can say, like, I release you at the end or something like that, but that's a beautiful way to just be present and share something from your heart, really.
Yeah, and it's so needed right now. It's always needed.
It always is. It always has been, it always will be.
Absolutely, and continue to promote that.
So there's so many aspects to Peace Accelerators. Tell us the different ones, because I think they're so important, and there's,
we're trying to be as data-driven as possible, but we have 3 long-term operations. And so our first one is called Revel, which is growing the International Day of Peace into a world's most celebrated holiday over time, and turning into a national holiday at least, and then in a day that people get off work. Then another one we have is called Evolve. Evolve is a push to end capital punishment in the United States. We're the only Western nation that has capital punishment, and so we're going to do that through videos, paying animators to make compelling videos to help us just rethink, why are we still doing this? Why are we killing humans? And really, I think when you get into philosophy, it doesn't make that much sense, and it's not a deterrent. States that have capital punishment actually are not deterring. They have higher murder rates than other states. And then our third operation is called Farms Not Arms.
I love that.
And the concept is that a lot of war actually originates from famine and from people not being able to eat, or droughts and things like that. And like Syria, at least, a lot of it came from them not having enough water and ability to feed themselves. And so Farms Not Arms is a goal of raising 100,000 at least this year to send a vertical farm to a war-torn area, and then send the next one to an area in the United States, because it's about taking care of everybody. But vertical farms use 80% less water, and we also want to sustainably power it, so we want to send renewable energy solar panels with it. But it's really teaching them how to grow produce in the most state-of-the-art technology that we have available as of today. And so allows them to actually grow their own food in these areas that have terrible agriculture. And so we're really excited about that. We're going to put a big earth flag on the side of this big vertical farm, which is, you can do them in shipping containers. So we're friends with Square Roots, which is a really cool vertical farming company in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we did an event there. And,
awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about the flag.
The flag? Yeah, so I found this the day of the election. It was after my Washington Square Park event, and I was just kind of looking for a symbol that kind of said everything I'm trying to say without words.
Yeah.
And so I looked on Google. I was walking with a friend towards Javits Center. We thought Hillary Clinton was going to be elected this time, and I looked online. I was like, is there a world flag? And there were some world flags, but nothing that really was cool, I thought. And then about 3 minutes later, I was walking with my friend Sarah, who's a big Peace Accelerator and very involved, and I typed in Earth flag on Google, and this symbol came up. And yeah, the concept was, they made this in Sweden in 2015, and I think it's a very powerful symbol. But the concept is, if we go to Mars, we don't want to put a flag on Mars of the United States, and we don't want to put a flag of Russia or China. We want to put a flag of Earth. And I think that's so much of what I'm trying to say, is that let's think more intelligently a little bit. Let's realize that we're all in this together, and we know that. But this flag kind of says that, and so to me, it's kind of the new peace flag. The peace symbol actually originated like 1950, kind of before this big peace movement. And so to me, I'm trying to kind of make this push towards a new symbol, because I think we need to rebrand peace a little bit and make it more modern. So it's not just about peace to me, though. It's also about hope. It's about unity. It's about all of us working together. No more borders. But we give these out after people came to 3 feed walks, and we let them put on their jackets and things. And now people get discounts in different places across New York City if they have a badge, which is kind of fun. What I like is it blends that kind of new agey spiritual element that a lot of us feel, but it also blends this modernism that's kind of a little bit more rational, because some people don't resonate, I feel like, with some new agey thought, or they feel like it's too out there. And I feel like this kind of blends it a little bit, at least in the color scheme, even more with something that feels a little bit more tangible and a little bit maybe more realistic, and which is kind of what I'm trying to do with Peace Accelerators, is pull these data-driven scientists in with kind of these spiritual elements and recognize where there's so much cohesion there.
Right.
And, yeah.
We've been talking about everything you're doing now, but I want to go back a little bit. And we all have that moment in life where this, what I call the hero's journey, the dark moment in our life, that kind of, and we tend to have quite a few, but what is one of those moments that you remember that kind of, you just hit the ground and you had to just pick up all the pieces, and that's what kind of trajected your path forward to creating what you're doing now? Can you share that moment with us a little bit and help us realize that it's not just fun and light and happy, there's all of it within this whole journey?
Great question. Yeah, I want people to also realize, like, yeah, this isn't easy in any way. There's a lot of work that has to go into it. And I think one of the moments, I guess, I actually remember, and I've had so many crazy, we often use the word synchronicities, like coincidences that just don't make any sense whatsoever.
In the moment.
And you're
then
just
they make
like,
all the sense.
yeah, they make all the sense and none of the sense.
Oh.
Like, how is this possible? But randomly, I went to this party at one of my friends in LA not long before I came to New York, and she kind of just travels the world, and very free spirit, basically with like little to no income, but is constant, like she'll be in like a parade in India, and then all of a sudden she's in China, and she's just in like the coolest, doing the coolest things. And I met her at Burning Man, and she randomly, I thought she was in New York, and then she randomly was at this party, and I'm like, how do you know these people, and how are you here, and all this? And I was just asking her a little bit about, how she's doing things, and she looked at me, and I kind of remember this, and she was like, Chris, like, you're not going to die. And I guess why I say that is that I'm not able to do this unless I do this full time. I realized that actually when I came here, I was doing this and I was like, I need more income. So then I have a great resume. I can go into companies and get a great job. But the amount of time that this requires of me is, I still feel like I don't have enough time.
It's beyond time. It's heart energy that you're putting into it, which is so authentic, and it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, and so I was at this job and I was making some decent money, but I didn't have a ton saved up. But I just realized that I had to do this. It was growing so fast, and I guess when I realized that there's things that are so much more important than money, and I think that's part of the hero's journey as well. Is when you really feel your calling, the money will take care of itself. Or I don't even like the word money, because I think that our concept of money is going to evolve over these next 20 years through blockchain technology and things like that we speak about at our events. But the concept of being taken care of, you're going to be taken care of. If you really, I truly believe that, and I truly believe if you're following what you're supposed to be doing, and you know it, and you feel it like within you. You're going to experience so many things that show you that is correct. And I've had probably 50 to 100 different experiences that just say, you are on the exact path you are supposed to be on. And that is the most soothing feeling of all, because I think that when you're sitting sometimes in offices and things like that, sometimes you feel that you're on that path, but sometimes you don't. And when you have that feeling, that anxiety and that feeling that like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be, you have to really listen to that intuition. And it's nothing more important you can do, and that's almost the most brave thing you can do as a human in this experience, is to really know when something's speaking to you at that level and saying, this is where I have to go.
How would you describe LightStyle? What does LightStyle mean to you?
Yeah, I think every day we have the ability to kind of choose what we perceive as possibly like our best version of ourselves, or maybe our not best version of ourselves. And I think LightStyle to me would be doing our best every day and not beating ourselves up, but trying to hopefully choose the best version of ourselves. You know, it's almost like if there's multiple dimensions, it's like choosing the dimension where hopefully you're living your most empowered version and doing your best to do that. But I also want to be really clear that I don't in any way think of myself as different or saint-like or holy or anything like that. And I want everyone to feel very relatable, because I don't think I'm doing anything that anyone else couldn't do.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think I want is to make sure people realize it's very tangible. I'm not trying to become, a saint or anything like that. I'm just trying to help us think of how we can really help our species and this planet as quickly as possible.
I think all of your endeavors so far have led you to exactly where you need to be, and that's what's so refreshing, to see someone that's just followed their path and followed their heart and stands in their light and is sharing it, because that's what the whole purpose of being a human being is, right? To the more you learn, the more you share. And so that's what we're here for, and I feel like that's what's happening through Peace Accelerators, because you're creating that environment for people to learn and grow in a really beautiful space. Yeah,
and I have so much to learn.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so great.
All of us do.
I think reminding us that we're all here to learn from each other.
Exactly, we're mirrors.
We're
mirrors for each other.
And remember that, we don't feel like we know it all, because I definitely don't. But I'm constantly trying to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can. And then what I feel like I know, helping if I think that's going to help somebody else, as best as possible.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
So
where can we connect with you? Where can we find you? When's the next event?
Yeah, so we've got 3 coders working on we have a site right now, it's peaceaccelerators.com. Probably if you're watching this, it's done, but we have coders working on that right now to make it really beautiful. We're very excited about that. But we have a community group on Facebook that it's just kind of, everyone kind of posts their different events, which is fun, and we kind of can see different things to do, but we put our events on there. But we also have a nonprofit group on Facebook as well, and then we have a girl that's taking over the Instagram social medias. On top of that, those are probably the best ways to find most things. You can find me on Facebook. I try to answer every message as much. I get quite a few, but I always try to answer to everyone and invite them to as many things as I can. And yeah, we love collaboration. Peace is about collaboration.
Yeah.
And so if anyone's watching this and they think, wow, like either I work with this company, and whether it's for-profit, non-profit, we believe that collaboration is so important. And yeah, and so we love collaborating with, and we've already collaborated with so many cool organizations in New York, and we're going to continue that. But we'd love to hear ideas of how we can do this together, and maybe ideas you have of how we can help you. And we think Peace Accelerators is also how can we help you. And we want to know how can we help people in our community as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chris, so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is so fun. Yeah, such a good time.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Cool.
And I'll see you soon at the next feed block.
Cool.
If you like this episode of the LightStyle interview series, please share with your friends and family, and don't forget to hit subscribe.